Hi everyone, welcome to MOE's Facebook Live session, Insights into the World Beyond School. I'm Grace and I'll be your host for today. Today's session is part of our engagement series titled A World Beyond School, and we hope that through this series, parents, educators and students can gain insights and perspectives on what the future of work could look like and how we can prepare our children with certain skills and competencies to thrive for the future. And so today's session will focus on the evolution of hiring practices, the shift towards skills-based hiring, and we'll also touch on skills to guide and support our children for the evolving world. And before we start the session proper, I would like to remind viewers to stay on topic when asking your questions, stay respectful, and if you have any tips or experiences, do feel free to share in the comment box. And tonight on the panel, we have three exciting guests. We have Alvin, Ingyin, and Alvin Aloysius. So could I get you guys to introduce yourselves to the viewers? Maybe Alvin.
Thanks, Grace. So I'm Alvin Lee. I've been working in DBS for 31 years. In DBS, I've been working in a number of departments, technology, as well as operations. So I hope to be able to share some of my working experiences. And at the same time, I'm also a father of 3 sons, 23 years old, 21 and 15. And I have some experiences in the parent support groups as well. So with that, I hope to be able to share some insights that I have as a fellow parent. So over to you, Jin.
All right, thanks, Alvin. Hi everyone, my name is Ingyin. I'm currently a Year 1 undergraduate student at SMU. I'm studying business management, and I have a little bit of experience in my career because I did internships for my final year of poly, then I worked a little bit before starting university. So I have a little bit of insight on what youths think about, starting their careers and the future of their lives. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here to represent the youths and also learn a lot more from our panelists tonight.
Great.
Yeah.
Right, my name is Alvin. I'm the Executive Director of Singapore Human Resources Institute. I'm career spent more than 20 over years in HR consulting for global companies, and as well spent considerable years in the financial institutions, working in the bank as Chief of Staff and as well as a Chief HR Officer. So I've been around in the HR field for many, many years and here to share whatever experiences, especially in the evolution of HR itself.
Thank you, panelists. Right now, we're going to learn a little bit more about our panelists' education and career pathways. So
the exciting part, right?
Yes, we prepared a basket of questions. They are random, and our panelists will get to pick an answer.
Okay, so we'll pick one of them, right? Okay. So I have to read it out?
Yes.
Okay, so let me read out mine. If you could learn any skill instantly, what would it be? This would be communication skills. Why? Because I find communication skills so wide. You can never master it all the time. Okay, and there's always new things to learn. So if I can learn something immediately and instantly, this would be something I want to focus on.
Thanks, Alvin. Okay,
Thank
maybe
you.
Ingyin.
Okay. Share a time where your interest for a particular subject got you into an unexpected experience. Wow. Okay. I think I can touch on my secondary school experiences. So I was very much a humanities kid. I was very into literature and all these kind of things. So one of the things that we did was we did National Literature Fest, which was like a fest where all the secondary schools come together and like do literature things like debates or like book parades and things like that. So I actually was very interested in the topic that we were doing, but I didn't like to do debate. But then my secondary school teacher was like, you're gonna do debate, but you're gonna be a researcher, like research into, like support your team and this kind of thing. So, and then after that, I actually really, really enjoyed my experience. So I ended up like deepening my love for literature and like really enjoying what I did over the course of the 2 years that I did full literature. And after that, I was actually really interested in like speaking and talking, which is very different from like what I used to do, just take a back seat and not be the one that's like talking and everything. So, and then after that, I got into emceeing and talking and yeah, so I think my love for literature and being forced to research for my team got me to that kind of experiences. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well said.
Thank you, Alvin. Yeah.
My turn.
Yeah.
Your turn.
What is the most memorable experience, education or job you've had? So for me, I think the most memorable experience in terms of the job that I had was probably the number of times that I have to travel to Pakistan for work, consulting work, HR consulting work. And perhaps this incident was because, as a consultant, we were advising a particular client in the world of rewards, compensation, dollars and cents. Of course, we present after our analysis and we presented our views. A particular senior management, in fact, he was a CFO of a very big Pakistani company. He said that he wasn't agreeable to our proposals because we wanted to increase $1 for some of the workers, the blue-collar workers there. And of course, he came from a finance angle and said, no, it costs us a lot of money and everything. But my answer to him was then, that $1 a month could actually feed another child, could send another child to school probably in Pakistan as well. And it got accepted because of what I said. So hopefully I made an impression and helped some of the workforce over there. So perhaps this is my most memorable in terms of my career.
Wow, that's very nice. Thank
Very
you.
good, very good.
Yeah, thank you, panelists, for sharing. Yeah. And so, I hope our viewers, can relate in one way or another. And we all have different education and career journeys. And even for myself, I took on work experiences that were not really related to my course of study, but it's the skills I've gained, the values I've gained that have, brought me to where I am, today. And today is fast changing, and we're always hearing things like, oh, we need to stay relevant, we need to stay updated. So we want to find out, what employers are looking out for these days. And at this point, I want to encourage our viewers to ask questions, and we will field them to the panel. So while the poll results are coming in, maybe I could get Mr. Alvin Aloysius to share a little bit more, about this question.
Right. I think in today's employers, what we are looking out for, especially for HR, we are looking out for soft skills, more importantly than technical skills itself. Right? Soft skills as in the ability to connect dots as well, especially in the business context whereby it's getting very complex. The ability to link 1 and 2 together and make sense of it, right? We are looking at people, as my fellow panelist Alvin was saying, communication skills are very important, right? The ability to communicate with a lot of clarity, right? To give clear instructions, provide good recommendations supported by data points, right? Gone are the days gut feels itself. We're also looking for a workforce or employee or a candidate that is able to have a very high learning agility itself, right? To be able to unlearn and relearn. Whether we liked it or not, how the corporate environments are actually seeing is that there is a shelf life in terms of our knowledge itself, right? Look, just 3 years ago before COVID, we didn't even hear of ChatGPT. Yep. We didn't even hear of generative AI. But today, even in the context of the corporate environment, organizations are already using such platforms to enhance work itself. So that's how I see the HR function evolving.
Thank you. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, just let me chime in as well. For example, I've interviewed a number of fresh grads, even poly students for that matter. And usually when I do that, the first thing I do when I look at the CV is not their qualification. I know what they studied. So I know what the background of the student or the candidate has. What I quickly go to is the end part of the CV to see what CCAs and what activities outside of school they did. And that gives me an idea of what a person has outside of just the hardcore skills that the person has studied in school. And usually my questions to them would be along these lines. Tell me about your CCA. Tell me about what you have done outside of your school. Okay? And I think that's important because it gives me an idea, therefore, of a person, how well-rounded the person is, how exposed a person is beyond just the hard facts.
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with what they said. I think that the landscape really is changing. And for myself, what I try to do is just to say yes to a lot of opportunities that come my way. So For instance, like I said, like my teacher forcing me to do this kind of thing, I could say no, but I said yes because I think it exposed me to a lot of different. First of all, it exposed me to something totally different, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and number two, meeting a lot of people. I think those are the two things that I look out for when I say yes to something. So, for instance, I came from an events management background, so I studied events management when I was in poly, and that is something that was sort of unconventional, I would say, but I think it really shaped who I am because of just the nature of the job. It's very unexpected. When I did my internship, every day there was a new problem, and I think that phase, it sort of shaped my soft skills in communication and also thinking on my feet, which is very, very important. So to all the students out there, I guess I just want to say two things. One is to give yourself a try, because you never know what's going to come, and just don't have a lot of self-doubt in yourself. That's something that I also struggle with a lot, especially now where people are doing a lot of different things. Like now in SMU, in uni, I meet so many different people who are hustling and like working while they're studying, but don't let that affect you and really focus on yourself. And the second one is just to say yes to everything. I think having an open mindset and exposing yourself to so many different experiences, it really shapes who you are as a person, even though you don't realize it. After intern, when I reflect and think back, I was like, oh, I'm not the same person that I was 6 months ago. And I think that has also made me sort of more valuable to the people that I will meet now, because I had these experiences and I'm willing to have more experiences and to shape myself and hold myself to be somebody that can attribute to a team and value add to a team.
Thanks, Ingyin. I hope that encourages our youth watching to try any opportunity that comes to them.
I suppose I come from a perspective, like if I look at myself and also some of the current business, the senior leaders itself, we are constantly unlearning and relearning, right? And I suppose deep down is the curiosity in us, right? To really want to explore, right? And I suppose I come from the perspective that we should not let our limits hold us back, but instead we should always challenge our limits itself to really move forward, to really look at what's really happening around the world. Because honestly speaking, how the evolution of work is actually being done today, coupled with technology advancements, with the changing demographics, changing social values and issues like that, I think we must constantly unlearn and relearn, right? But deep down inside, you must want it, right? You must find your own inner motivation, right? In the world of corporate HR and even for the business, we have talked about self-directed learning, right? And the burden of responsibility sits with us as learners to always unlearn and learn and relearn. Like for yourself, you're actually pursuing a specialty. Like myself, I just embarked on a doctorate program that I hope to actually achieve as well. So it's that inner curiosity in us. I suppose that's how we keep up with the fast pace of changing environment. Even if you're not learning, do reach out, talk to professionals, talk to specialists, all right? And so I think you can gather a lot of information. Today, there are a lot of support systems here in Singapore by Workforce Singapore and stuff like that, right? That enables us to open up the web just to learn, right? LinkedIn has got a very strong platform for learning. Right? I think that's all these are all there, just at our fingertips, right there at the screens in front of us.
And to extend to what Alvin was saying, I think it's important that a person understands current trends. Okay, not just the current trends, but try to project what may happen in the next 5-10 years. Technological changes obviously is always there. Okay, but beyond that, okay, there are geopolitical differences, actions that's coming up, and so on. How does all this, for example, play a part into impacting our lives? That will give you an indication of what could be something that's coming up. Okay, talk to colleagues, talk to people from different departments. How is their work being changed? How is their nature of work, okay, being so-called refocused right now? Okay, and that gives you an indication of what are the relevant skills, okay, and information that one needs, okay, for the current moment.
Thank you. Maybe you
Right.
could share, with your 30
that's
years
right.
of being in DBS.
In a very simple statement, okay, the reason why it's important to upskill is because today's changes are moving very fast. So what is relevant right now, okay, will no longer be relevant, okay, potentially 5 years down the road. And if you want to tell yourself you want to be relevant to the workforce, you want to continue to contribute, there is no choice, okay, but to continue to learn new things and so on. For example, in my case, as I mentioned, I've taken 4 specialist diploma courses. I'm into my 5th. And the reason why I think it's important to do that is because it is not just the fact that one wants to be active mentally, but also to be aware, okay, what are the potential ways one could do things differently, learn new stuff and so on.
Thank you. So actually we have our poll results out from just
that's
now.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we have, so our question was, what do you think employers are increasingly looking out for in this evolving job landscape? And we have actually 68% of our viewers saying it's transferable and soft skills, which is what
Totally
you guys
agree.
have mentioned.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
So thank you for the poll. We will go to our next question from the ground.
So there are many ways today. Gone are the days are just we do a CV interview or a face-to-face interview. Today, HR has got a lot of technology at our fingertips. So sometimes we use a lot of AI today, right, to actually assess candidates' competencies, especially some of the soft skills as well. Yes, some might say that AI is still very young itself, but to be very frank, the pace of how AI has learned by itself has transformed very quickly, right? So there's a lot of platforms here in Singapore, some developed by our local boys, some on the global side in terms of the HR tech, using AI videos, all right, that even AI is able to detect if you are bluffing, right, through your facial expressions, through your eye dilation, all right, and so forth. During the interview process, especially if you are required to submit a video of interview of yourself. All right, that's one way of doing it. Of course, sometimes it also relies on the experience of the interviewer to assess some of these soft skills itself. You need to have considerable, I won't say considerable years, but at least gone through a number of interviews yourself to be able to then assess candidates based on your soft experience, especially when we talk about being able to connect the dots in a very complex business world going forward. How does one actually analyze issues? Is one able to strategize, hypothesize, create, provide solutions, right? In doing the interviews on the spot, thinking on the fit itself. So these are the skill sets that we will test and we will use. Some interviewers will also use gamification, all right, to assess, for example, your risk appetite, right, especially the banking world, games and stuff, right, to assess interviews. Of course, the traditional method will be, I would say 60-70% is still the face-to-face interviews. Yeah.
So Ingyin, after hearing about, wow,
You're not so
AI,
stressed.
yeah, do you feel like you need to equip yourselves with more soft skills, things like that? Yeah.
I think it's very prevalent now. Like it's being said to us as students that we are moving away from academic qualifications, which is one of the reasons. It was one of the factors in like choosing a university is how ready I will be at the end of it and what kind of experiences I can expose myself to. So at the end of the day, like I said before, I think it's really about like us as students trying to experience as many things as we can, because we'll never know what we pick up and what kind of interest that we will actually try to pursue down the line. And after hearing this, I think it's quite helpful to help me like see actually what kind of skills should I be developing, because it's not really just about like being a generalist and like trying different things, but also knowing and having a goal into what I should be focusing on. So for instance, like should I be focusing on my communication skills, or in a business setting, my risk appetite, and how do I talk to people, manage people. I think these are things that people are starting to look out for, and I think as students it's important for us to acknowledge that and also try to work on that. Yeah.
Well said.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks Ingyin.
I would say to Melanie, okay, keep up that aspect of guiding your son. Since he loves coding with Scratch, right? Okay, encourage him to continue to do so. I think it's a question of getting the child motivated and finding the passion. This is one way of going about it. I'm not a very firm believer that you should actually have a very structured way of guiding a child at that age, okay, for a particular career in mind. Just go along the path, okay, that the child is enjoying himself. As he enjoys himself, he will learn more. So it's a natural reinforcement loop that comes in. Continue to do whatever that you're doing.
Thank you, thank you. How about Alvin Aloysius?
So I like the way Melanie phrased the question, right? How can I guide? So perhaps, since Alvin has actually said what he should do, perhaps I will come from the perspective of what not to do. Perhaps what not to do is to direct my son. All right. When by directing, then we are somewhat force-feeding to some extent and making sure our children excel in a particular area itself. Right. Part of learning should be enjoying the process of learning itself. So that's how I firmly believe in raising my own 3 children in the process of their education when they were younger. Yeah.
And to chime in, I want to share my experience, right, with my 3rd son. Okay, so he was in primary school. I remember he was at maybe primary 5, primary 6. And I went to the library thinking that, okay, it's time for him to start coding. Okay, so I'm going to go and borrow some books on coding, right? Thinking that he'll be interested lah. So I left the books on the shelf. Nothing happened. Completely nothing happened. He ignored the books, and I realized then that's not the right way to do about it. Because eventually, he became interested on his own on IT. Not necessarily just on coding, but other aspects as well. So I think the lesson learned here is that give your child some time. Okay, the child will be interested if he's really interested, and will go far.
That's very encouraging to hear from both parents.
Yeah.
I think to be a global citizen, I really emphasize on being open-minded because in this day and age, connectivity is a really big thing. You are even in school, you have the opportunity to connect with people from various cultures. And a way to do that is really to be open-minded to other people's cultures and just being communicative and patient. I think that's one of the things that are really important because in this day and age, given the fact that we have so many opportunities and there's so many things just flying at us, I think it's really important for us to be able to connect with other people from different cultures. And I think open-mindedness is something that is accepted generally everywhere. So based on my limited experience on global experiences, because when I was in secondary school, I got a chance to go overseas and do community projects. And one of the things that I really learned from that experience was just to be open-minded and be curious. I think that's something that people also really appreciate when you are interested in their culture. Because I think I would really appreciate it if somebody was really asking things about the way I do things and my culture here and my life. Because that experience going overseas was really, I think, one of the experiences that also shaped me as a person. Because I was 15, I was going overseas without my parents, and I'm working with kids from another country. So yeah, I think open-mindedness and also having that curiosity and reaching out to people and your counterparts is really, really important.
Thanks, Ingyin.
Well said.
Yeah, it's like what Alvin Aloysius said just now about curiosity.
You have to want to know. I think that's a really important point.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Maybe I will get a parent, maybe.
Okay,
Alvin?
so this is a perennial question I get, when I meet my fellow parents in my parent support groups. And the way I see it is this. In most cases, kids are naturally curious. And the tool that they have on their hand really meet their needs of having curiosity being answered. And that is why they will always find it very interesting to go to find games, to go online to do 1,001 stuff. Now, most of the time, in my opinion at least, I feel that it will not cause damage. So long as you find that the kid is actually able to cope reasonably well in school, be able to sleep, rest well, I don't think it's too much of a problem. And I use this as an example, right? My 3 kids are just like any other boys. So they were obviously into gaming, okay? Even right now, the eldest one who is in America, I know is into gaming, for example, okay? But the fact of the matter is that they actually learn communication skills because they have to communicate with friends, okay? And they are able to then relate how games are built. So I would say that in this case here, try to keep a balance. Don't get overly worried, okay? Go along the flow. Kids will usually mature after a while, okay? And that's when they learn to control themselves better.
Thanks, Alvin.
Well, the honest truth is that from a corporate Singapore standpoint, we have a long way more to go as compared to what I've seen in other countries that I've traveled to and worked as well. But having said that itself, I take heart that we have a lot of platforms today. For example, SG Enable, the Singapore Business Foundation, Federation Foundation itself that supports vulnerable employees, single parents, children as well. Even at SHR itself, we have also taken the approach to actually train 6 mildly autistic students as well, right? And in my LinkedIn profile itself, I actually blog about it, and it was not only a learning journey for them, it was a learning journey for myself as well. But for corporate Singapore to succeed in terms of hiring candidates with special needs, not only is it good to have a corporate principle and value system say, yes, I will do something, but the burden should also that the line managers themselves should be trained in terms of how to handle special need employees as well, all right? Yeah. Because these are the ones that are direct contact with them, right? The interviewing process should also be changed, especially when there is something what we call unconscious biasness that really happens throughout, not only for special needs, but also for able-bodied candidates as well. There's always this letter of unconscious bias in some of the interviewers that I've seen. And all this itself should be eradicated. All right? HR can put up policies, could train our people, but it takes the entire ecosystem, it takes the entire corporate culture to want to hire special needs employees as well. So it's not an overnight thing, but I would dare say that we are moving in the right direction, given the support that I'm seeing coming out today.
Thanks. And I hope our viewers will take heart, that we are moving into a positive direction. I think this question is quite common amongst youth these days. So maybe I could pose this question to Ingyin. Yeah.
So for myself, when I was choosing my poly course, my dad wasn't really on board with me going to events management because he feels that it's a bit niche.
Right.
I went for it anyway. I signed up for EAE, which is early admissions, without them knowing. I think what I can advise is just go for it, because I don't regret like a single moment that I spent in that course. I made really great friends, I had great experiences, and at the end of the day, it's the years of your life, right? So you're gonna be the one that's spending 3 years in a course that you either like or don't like. And what I can advise you is really try to talk to your parents about it, show your passion, to your parents, and let them know, hey, this is really what I want to do. And I believe that in the end, right, actions will speak louder than words. I believe that my passion or my interest in events management is the thing that drove me to want to work really hard and to get good grades and get a good GPA. So like Alvin Losher said, it's your inner passion. You have to want to know and you have to want to pursue it. So I think at the end of the day, try to communicate to your parents that this is what I want to do, and that you are really interested in this. And even if they still don't really agree with it, I think that you should still really go for it, because it's the 3 years, right? So my personal experience with some of my friends, my friend, she has strict parents and they wanted her to go to a JC. So one day she said to me, she was like, Jin, I think I'll just go 2 years JC, then after I go poly. Then I was like, excuse me, like why? And I get that you want to, try that route and have peace with your parents, but your life at the end of the day. It's the career that you want to pursue. So really try to communicate that passion, and if it doesn't really work out, then pave your own path, my friend.
Yeah.
It really pays off.
Perhaps for our add-on from me as a parent, together with my wife. Hi there, how are you? Itself, together with my wife, when we come to our children's interests in terms of academic performance or the path that they are chosen, we have agreed at the start that we will not put our dreams onto our children and ask our children to live our dreams. Right. Itself. And I think that's the important step that both husband and wife must take. Because after all, it's a parenting effort. It's not the daddy's position, it's not the mommy's, but it must be a joint decision together to want to take the first step to say that, yes, in my life I wanted to be this, but today I can't be, so please live my dream for me, right, through my children. So I think that's the first step that as parents we must take, right, and allow the children to live their life as how they want to live their life, but with the proper guidance from parents, right? And I think at the start, from a young age itself, when it comes to my 3 children, both my wife and I, we decided to inculcate values, strong values in them, so that the values would then guide them in terms of what they want to do itself. I think that's important. And I think there should be greater emphasis in a values-based systems of learning and education here in Singapore. Right? Once our moral compass is true enough, I think our children will grow up to be perfect global citizens. Yeah.
Thank you. If I can add really quickly,
Yes.
I think it's important for us kids to also acknowledge maybe some of the fears that our parents have, because at the end of the day, what they want for us is to succeed. And I completely understand from my dad's perspective that he wants something a little bit more traditional, so like finance or medicine or like lawyer. And I totally get that. So for Wayne or any other student who wants to pursue a course that their parents don't agree with, I think it's important to sit down and talk to them and address that kind of concern, because at the end of the day, our parents want what's best for us. Yeah, so it's really a two-way communication effort right there.
Thank you, panelists. Yeah, we had a previous session that there was a youth who also talked about similar things, and she actually suggested, to do a pros and cons list with her parents, to sit down with them.
A list.
Yeah, a list of pros
Okay.
and cons of the course that they want to pursue,
Okay.
so that parents they know and they are assured that my child has done her research.
Have thought
Yeah,
through the
has
whole
thought
thing.
through,
Okay,
yeah.
it's
And
not
so,
just.
that's just one suggestion. Yeah, and we also have a comment from a parent. I believe by the time the kids are ready for work, there'll be new trends and practices. Let the kids experience life and let them explore as much as they want. Life skills are important and they can manage on their own.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
think this is so encouraging. Thank you to the parent who shared that. And so thanks panelists for sharing, about the shift in hiring practices and the shift towards skills-based hiring. And I think this gives our viewers a better sense of what to expect in the future. And so now we've discussed a bit more about the employer perspective. I think our viewers also want to find out
Okay, so maybe I'll start off that part. Okay, usually I find the first thing that strikes me, okay, for people who join a company is that obviously pay is one part to it, but beyond pay, the next question that they have is that what is my opportunity in terms of career growth? Okay, career growth doesn't just mean promotion. It could mean, for example, opportunities to learn new things, to take out new responsibility and so on. So that keeps a lot of people going. And I think therefore, to be able to show that you are able, okay, to have that responsibility to take on projects, to take on new initiatives is very important. Something that I think is most appreciated by companies.
do you agree with?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of where we are seeing employees, new employees, fresh graduates coming up into the workforce itself, as Alvin was saying, learning is actually the new social credit between employer and employee. Employees today want to unlearn and relearn. They want to expand their scope of knowledge as well. Putting them into projects, especially cross-generation projects, is actually very interesting for them. All right? And it's also interesting for the current workforce people like us who has been in the workforce for 20 over years, we are also learning from the younger workforce in terms of being technological savvy, right? New platforms, new apps and stuff like newer ways of doing things. And I think that's makes the corporate environment much more happy one.
And more dynamic one.
Exactly, right? And especially for Singapore and around the world, we are moving towards a multi-generation workforce, right? With retirement age going up and so forth. And I think that's important for us as corporate Singapore HR system, business leaders to actually embark on as well.
Thank you, Alvin, for sharing your perspectives. And I think this segues very nicely into our next segment on equipping parents with skills to support our children for the future of work. So we've asked another poll, which is most important to you when it comes to supporting our children for the future of work? So we have identifying their interests and skills, finding about the world of work, providing opportunities for learning and ensuring they get good qualifications.
Well, I think what's most important to me is, of course, getting opportunities for learning, because there's so many things that you can learn outside of the classroom. You know, the things that I learned the most were outside of the classroom. So at this point of time, I think as a university student, we get a lot of autonomy into choosing what we want to do, and that, to me personally, is very, very important. So in university, you know, you get a lot of freedom to do what you want, and sometimes you're just like spoiled for choice a bit. So so getting opportunities and getting the chance and the freedom to choose what I want to pursue is really important to me. And I think that also translates a lot to my other friends and other youths as well, because a lot of the things that we like to talk about is all the different things that we can do in order to develop ourselves further and then be work ready once we graduate. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
For me as a parent, I think what is important is obviously the need to try to identify what are your strengths of your kids, what are their areas of interest. For my 3 kids, obviously they are into STEM. Okay, they are much more into maths and science. Okay, now why that is important is because it's just not possible to get very good grades in all your subjects, right? So I know, for example, if they tell me they get a certain grade for some of the humanities subjects, I can understand why. I'm not saying that it's a perfect world, but I can understand why. But I think more importantly is the fact that my wife and myself, as we have always done, we don't dictate what our children want to do. Okay, but I think it's important that if you understand their so-called areas of interest, it could be working in a way that you become like a person looking after some blind spots in case they can't see it, but you may spot it. Okay, it's more around that direction to just guide them, just to make sure that there's no spot that's along the way that may derail their dreams and so on. But otherwise, I'll just let them go.
Okay. Yeah, so actually we have our poll results out.
Oh.
Yeah, so actually 56%, which is the majority, said that
Well
identifying our children's interests and skills is important to them when it comes to supporting our children.
So for us, I've got 3 kids, right? So my eldest girl is right now currently studying in Australia, pursuing HR and psychology. And I suppose, we didn't really direct her, or even for me as a HR professional, I didn't tell her, Shauna, please go do HR like your daddy as well, right? I did not do that. I think it was just a interest that she found, right? From wanting during her school holidays because she was doing work in a childcare center, and she loves children. Right? And from that itself, she wanted to do child psychology. And that's how she actually started in the world of psychology and HR. For my eldest boy, Adriel, he's doing law and management today, right? But if I recall correctly itself, we took him, all right, he went for a mission trip in Pattaya in Thailand as well, and he was attached to an orphan, right? And in an orphanage, a very big orphanage itself. And I suppose that also got him started thinking about family law, right? All right, giving some form of protection to kids, children, And I thought that perhaps could have molded him in his interest to want to do law and management. My youngest boy, strangely, he's still very young. Although he's 13 years old, but many years ago he gave us a scare. He said, "Dad, Mom, I want to be an astronaut." All right. And it was very interesting. And when we asked him why he wanted to be an astronaut, he said, oh, because astronauts does nothing but just float around every day. Yeah, but that's a candid side to him. But he's a jovial boy. All right. And today we are still allowing him to find his space. Right? We don't direct our children in terms of what they must do, right? Itself, whether they want to pursue STEM or anything else, we don't direct it. Right? We allow them to explore anything that they really want to do. Right, and find their niche area itself. As parents, I think both me and my wife, we create that safe environment. We talk a lot to them, we communicate, right? And from there itself, we suss out, right? Many a times there could be a possibility that as parents, I also do have to admit sometimes in my own heart, I wish that my child, my 3 kids would have done something much more, glamorous itself. Why do HR? Why do psychology, right?
Yeah.
Why don't do medicine?
Right.
Why don't do technical engineering? But I allow them to explore. I think that's the way how we bring up our children.
It's quite interesting that his child, followed his footsteps, right? My eldest son is studying mechanical engineering just like me. And I never influenced him as well. Second one did technology, at the poly as well as the university. I was doing IT in DBS for the longest time. And maybe there's a sense of influence there as well. So I'd like to just remind my fellow parents that you yourself do have actually a very strong influence, like it or not, to your kids.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, parents are, our first role models, in our lives.
So to me, to be very fair and honest, yes, we still do have some employers who look out for prior experiences. But for a lot of the more progressive HR professionals and business leaders and organizations out there, what we are looking out for is that it's not about your prior work experience, even your internship, right, are areas that we look at as well. The activities that the graduates are coming out that they do in the universities or they do in the poly, the CCAs or the ECAs that they do, right? The leadership position that they hold in their universities or in their polytechnics or even in any social context itself, right? We look at all those key experiences because it's the basic truth. If I'm a fresh grad, I don't have any prior experience, right? But we look at all the other fringe work activities and picked out, right, the complementary skills, the transferable skills, right? For example, if you have done communications, you've done emceeing and everything, these are good skill sets. It shows that you are okay to stand in front of stage, to present yourself. You're confident, right? These are the skills that we looked at, right? Not something that, you're a top GPA student, 3.8, 4.0, whatever. That's not what we are looking out for, right?
Thank you. Thanks, Alvin, Aloysius.
Again, I think this comes from the fact that for a lot of young adults, they are still into what is called the inquisitive phase. So they would like to try a lot of things. Now, naturally, going into the gig economy has got its own attractions. I'm actually my own boss. I can do whatever I want as and when I want. I don't have to answer to people. But it's a learning curve, right? So when you are into a particular job, you realize that no job is ever perfect. Sooner or later, there will always be cases that you think the grass is always greener on the other side, and you start changing about. The way I look at it is that if it's a case of them realizing that it's not a good fit, they will move. If it's a case of a good fit, I don't see why they don't want to stay on. They can. At the end of the day, it is your life, it is your job. I'm perfectly fine if my kid goes for it. I think what's more important is that can you find the value of doing what you love and seeing what you can do for the better good of the society.
Thank you.
I just want to extend Alvin's comment itself. When we talk about gig work itself, it's just not about the Grab drivers, the food delivery guys, because gig work has got a spectrum in terms of expertise and knowledge requirement as well. All right. For example, digital marketers. I can be a gig employee doing digital marketing for various companies itself. All right. That requires to have a certain skill sets. Right. For example, emceeing, all right, in the entertainment industry, right, and so forth. right? These are all gig workers. They don't really have an employer per se. They are their own employer and employee at the same time. So that there is a spectrum in terms of skills and knowledge itself. All right. So the key thing is that even if in the future itself, our children whatsoever wants to take up a gig work, then we have to understand what kind of gig work they are saying. Don't just jump into the conclusion that they are just going to do, that food delivery and whatsoever. But honestly, to be very frank and honest, is there anything wrong being a food delivery?
Absolutely not.
It is still a legitimate position. It's still earning through work, right? Yes. Yeah.
Thanks, Alvin and Aloysius. Maybe Ingyin, do you have any friends who, or yourself, thinking of entering into this gig economy?
Well, I can touch on my experiences during my internship. So in events management, when I engage vendors, right, a lot of them are gig workers. So like freelance sound engineers or freelance DJs, MCs. And I find that they are the ones, they value autonomy a lot more in choosing their gigs and what they want to do. And I find that they are more like free-spirited kind of people. And I think there's also a lot of things to learn from them because working gigs, right, it gives you, I would say, a lot of experiences. Because I really think that these kind of people are the ones that we have the most experience because they're exposed to so many different things. So I think once again at the end of the day, working in this gig economy, it really opens yourself up to meeting so many different people and a lot of various opportunities that perhaps you wouldn't get if you're sitting in an office job or whatnot.
Yeah.
So once again, I think it's just to be open-minded to such things. And also, I would say when you meet these people who work in the gig economy, right, really sit down and talk to them because I find that they are the ones who have a lot of experiences that you can learn from. So one of the graphic, I would say graphic designers, like he did lighting and graphics for us for a particular concert, and we were just sitting there talking about him backpacking through Europe for like 3 months. So yeah, that was really interesting. And as a young person myself, I think it really showed me that perhaps like working isn't as scary as it is because it's at the end of the day, it's really down to you and your decisions and as long as you build, I think, a solid support system, which is what our parents or our mentors will be, then I think at the end of the day, there's really nothing much to be afraid of.
Well said.
Yeah, thanks panelists
Great
for
perspective.
those encouraging words. So maybe, Alvin, Aloysius, you can
So
take this.
what is AI, right? AI is knowledge, a knowledge bank, right? But the most important thing is the application of the knowledge. AI might generate certain answers for you, but it's how you use those answers and apply it in the context and constantly value add is important. Now, when it comes to developing soft skills creativity itself, I think the best way to learn is to expose our children to as many subject matters as possible, as wide as possible. Allow them to explore, allow them to read as widely, all right? And of course, Singapore being a much more affluent country, we do travel a lot today, all right? With our children and everything. I think, if recalling my time, I didn't travel till I was like 15 years old, all right? Took my first plane. But today, our children travel widely, right? But is there a need to do the usual shopping belts? Is there what about the museums? What about the arts, right? What about the theaters, right? What about the social platforms and stuff like that? I think these are interesting places that we should bring our children. We need not, go down to Itaewon, Korean shopping belt and stuff like that, right? I mean, the basic fundamentals of bringing our children overseas to travel is to get them exposed to different cultures, to different arts, right, and so forth. I think that's important, and that's helped build creativity to some extent, because then our children will be able to connect the various dots, right, and make sense of all this data that we are actually exposing them to. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, That's great. I mean, we can also do it like in Singapore, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, we have museums in Singapore, or I mean, if you really have to travel, we can go to JB. I'm sure JB has a lot of things for our children to be exposed to as well. Yeah, so maybe Alvin, do you have
Just
anything?
don't stay at home, okay, and play your phone all the time, okay? Just go out, volunteer your time. I think it's important that you actually expose yourself, volunteer your time, or even work part-time, okay? You want to know how difficult is it to convince a person, try to do waitering, okay? Or go to a restaurant and see how difficult it is. Okay, it's not easy at times to actually try to convince people. It sounds easy, but you try doing it yourself. There's no substitute for real examples. That's what I would say.
Experience is the best.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
I think youths like myself will want autonomy in doing things. So when I was growing up, I don't think I had a lot of autonomy into like doing the things that I wanted to do. Even though at the end of the day, I just went for it. A bit of a rebel, sorry mom and dad. But yeah, I think it's really for the parents to let go of the child and let them do the things that they want to do, and also get support from our parents and mentors. So for myself, wherever I am, let's say in a period of life, right, I try to find a mentor. So for instance, during my internship, I had a mentor. She was my supervisor, and she really supported me and assisted me. Well, I wouldn't say assisted, but like gave me a lot of support in developing and growing myself. So for instance, things like talking to the vendor, communicating with the vendor, like getting collaterals out for an event. I remember asking her, do you think it's more productive if, let's say, I put you in a group chat with the vendor? Then she was like, no.
Right.
No,
Right.
like it's, you need to learn how to, talk to the vendor. And so it's these experiences like that that I think it's important for you to sometimes push the youth over the cliff a little bit.
Get out from the comfort zone.
Yes.
You gotta
need a
get-
parachute if things go haywire. But I think it's really important for youth to be exposed to these different things and knowing that they have that backup. I think it's really important. Because navigating life, I would say, is quite scary.
Right, yeah.
I don't know about you guys,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it
It
is
is.
quite
It is.
difficult and scary.
Parenting is scary.
There's no guidebook, right? Okay, there's no guidebook, no? Okay.
So
That sounds different.
life is scary, but if we, I knew that I had that support system, and that's where I was able to make mistakes and grow. Yeah, so at the end of the day, I think that support and encouragement from our parents and our mentors really actually mean the world to us.
Excellent.
That's very nice. Yeah. So parents, we are our first support system, for our
Yes.
children. So let's just try to be there for them.
Give
each
them
season.
some space, give them a
Yeah.
bit of respect, okay, and try to understand from their perspective as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe Alvin, you would like to
Well,
answer?
my question to Michelle is this. Michelle, may I ask, when you were in Sec 2, do you know what career would you like to do? Okay, and you think about then, okay, what you wanted to do, I have no idea what you want to do versus now, okay, do you see a world of difference? 9 out of 10, in fact, I would say nearly 10 out of 10 of parents who I speak to who has this question, when I ask this thing, they realize that, hey, actually at last time, I also end up the same thing, right? I have no idea what I want to do, okay. Fact of the matter is that today, the pressure seems to be there, okay, to make kids realize that they have to have a career. I don't think that's right. I think at Sec 2, you are definitely into an area of time where you want to discover yourself. So my advice to Michelle is that give your child some time, okay, step by step. The school itself has a system, okay, to actually guide the kids as well as to advise the parents what's the best next step. So don't rush, okay, take it step by step, you'll do fine.
That's great. Maybe Alvin or Aloysius, as a parent.
No, I echo what Alvin is saying, right? Sec 2 itself, it's a long way more. All right, let's not rush the process itself. Let the child enjoy the secondary school. And if I will just think back in my days when I was in secondary school itself, it was the most enjoyable time of my life. I did not have to think about what career I wanted to be. If all things fail, I'll just join the police force, I'll follow my father's footsteps. Right? Yeah, I think that's the crux of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Thank you. Yeah, and we have a comment from a parent, Serene. I think a lot of our younger generation, when they first go through an interview, what's most important in their mind is how much they're gonna get paid. And she thinks, we need to shift our focus to selling ourselves to the interview panel on what we can offer and contribute to the company. I totally agree with this. I think it's very important to have that USP, when we go for interviews.
That's true.
Yeah. And so I think time is running out.
Oh, okay.
So I will get each one of you to share a short encouragement with our viewers. Maybe
Okay,
Alvin.
so I'll start off by saying that I hope parents have learned some important points from our panelists, but at the same time, I myself actually learned a lot from my fellow panelists as well. So my advice to parents is that just remember, skills-based needs is actually very important. Okay, guide and support your kids along the way. Thanks.
Ingyin.
Yeah, so to our students out there, don't worry, take your time. Give yourself a try to expose yourself to so many different things. And to our parents, we still love you. We love you very much. You are our first line of defense.
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure you're doing great and we love you.
Yeah. So I perhaps maybe in ending, I'm just going to end a quote from our late founding father, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, has said, and he said this itself: he has never met a man or woman who just by attending a 2-day leadership workshop become a leader overnight. So what it means to us is that learning is a lifelong platform that we need to do. It's just not by having the academic grades, therefore we are set for success. It's not so simple. All right. The ability to unlearn and relearn is important. The corporate environment is changing dynamically itself. Therefore, I think at this point of time for our children, it's really to allow them to really explore the world itself and not ring fence them down to a certain area. So I think that's the last parting words I would like to say.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing
Welcome.
your insights and perspectives.
It's been an interesting
today.
session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope our viewers were able to gain, some insights and perspectives on, what the future of work could look like and how we can better support, our children to thrive in future. And so, with that, thank you for tuning in. And we're so sorry if we couldn't manage to answer everything, but do keep a lookout for our next session in November. And we also have links in the comment section that will lead you to our A World Beyond School playlist, where you can watch videos and learn more tips, from different panelists. And before you go, please scan the QR code on screen. It is a feedback form where you can tell us new insights and perspectives you want to hear in our future sessions. And with that, thank you and good night.